The man I called dad for 25 years? He never knew I wasn't his. And I was the one who had to tell him. You ever have a moment where you feel like your life split into two? Like there's the version of you that existed up until a certain second, and then there's the version that stumbled out on the other side of it. Not better, not wiser, just different in a way that you can't ever undo? Yeah. Mine was my 25th birthday. I wish I could say I had some weird gut feeling leading up to it. Like foreshadowing or vibes or some kind of dream that warned me. But no. My life was normal. My parents were together, happy as ever. I have 2 younger siblings, Sam and Mara, and we're close. Always have been. It's the kind of family people envy, actually. The joking kind, the group chat name changes every week kind, the family dinners even when no one has time kind. So when my mom asked if we could talk after dinner that night, I figured it was just mom stuff. Something about health insurance or relationships or frozen chicken. Not what she actually said. We were sitting in the living room. I still remember how quiet it was. My dad had gone off to do dishes. He does that thing where he doesn't let anyone else help. She waited until the clatter from the sink covered her voice a little and said, kind of too gently, I have something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you a long time ago. I wish I could remember every word. I really tried to right after. But everything just kind of turned to static. Like she was talking through water or from far away. What I do remember is how my stomach went cold before my brain caught up. Like my body knew before I did. Like something big was about to snap inside me. I had an affair, she said. Just like that. No build-up. And then, you're not your dad's biological child. The sentence hung there for a while. I didn't even know how to react. I thought maybe I misheard her or that she meant something else, like a joke in really, really bad taste. But she wasn't joking. She was crying, actually. Silently, like she'd practiced this in her head and knew exactly how it would go, but couldn't stop it from hurting. Then she said, I was young. We were going through a hard time, and it was one mistake, but it changed everything. And I didn't even know what to say. Literally blank. Like someone wiped all the thoughts out of my head at once. She kept talking, filling the silence the way moms do, when they can't stand seeing you hurt. She told me he never knew. That no one knew. That she didn't want to hurt anyone. That she always thought it didn't matter because she raised me, they raised me, and love should be what makes a parent a parent. I couldn't breathe properly. It felt like I wasn't in my body anymore, like my brain was clicking through things too fast. Me as a baby on my dad's shoulders. Me and him building that awful bookshelf together. Him teaching me how to ride a bike. His corny jokes. His temper. His laugh. His eyes. God, had I never noticed we don't even have the same eye color? Everything got louder in my head. Like suddenly everything was suspicious and fragile and possibly fake. I didn't storm out because this wasn't a movie. I just kind of sat there, looking at her, then at the floor, then back at her. My voice finally came back, but it didn't sound like mine. Who is he? I asked. She went pale. He doesn't know about you, she said. I never told him. We lost touch. He was married. I just sat there feeling like someone carved a hole out of my chest and left all the nerves raw and twitching. Dad came into the room then, smiling, holding a plate of leftover cake, and I almost couldn't look him in the eye. It was like looking at a memory from the wrong side. For the next few days, I didn't say anything. Didn't bring it up again. Didn't cry either. My brain just went into this sort of lockdown mode, like it was trying to protect itself from combusting. I kept running one question back and forth in my head. What am I supposed to do with this truth? Because it doesn't feel like a gift. Or even a confession. It feels like someone dropped a bomb and walked away soft-shoed. I can't decide if I'm angry, numb, betrayed, or just overwhelmingly sad. And it keeps cycling. Also, and I hate myself for this, but there's a tiny part of me that wonders, if Dad ever found out I wasn't his, would he love me less? Would he look at me differently, like I was a reminder of something gross and broken and not his? I don't know. I really, really don't know. And I haven't told anyone yet. Not Sam. Not Mara. Not Dad. That week was the longest silence I've ever experienced. Not from anyone else, just inside my own head. Like my thoughts were trapped behind glass or something. I went to work. I answered texts with emojis and LOL. I sat at dinner with my roommates and laughed at stupid TikToks. But the whole time I felt hollow. Or fake. Like I was pretending to be someone I hadn't been for long enough to forget how the real me sounded. And I kept thinking about my dad. My not dad. Whatever. I can't even figure out what to call him anymore without getting emotional. He's the kind of guy who always remembers to put gas in my car if he drives it. Still calls me kiddo even though I'm 25. Pretends to hate hugs but always gives the tightest ones when he thinks I need it. And the cruel part, what really messes me up, is that he has no idea. No clue that this giant, depth charge-like secret has been sitting in our house for over 2 decades, humming beneath the walls. And suddenly, every single moment I've ever had with him feels off. Not bad. Just dislocated. Like I was watching old footage with the audio slightly out of sync. He's not any different, but he feels different. And I hate that I can't untangle the two. I started obsessively trying to figure out if anyone else had noticed. Like, did my aunt ever say anything? Did my grandma used to give me weird looks, and I just never picked up on it? I even went through old pictures for a few hours one night, album after album, and stared at my face, trying to see who I looked like. There's this one picture that totally wrecked me. Christmas morning, I'm probably 6. Sitting between my dad and my uncle. We're all wearing ridiculous matching pajamas. And he's holding me so tight, like I was the most important thing in the whole room. Maybe the whole world. And I just kept whispering to myself, "You didn't know. Oh my God, you didn't know." I couldn't sleep after that. I wanted to scream into a pillow or throw my phone against a wall, but I didn't even have enough rage in me. Just heartbreak mixed in with this panicky grief, grieving a version of my life that I thought was solid, that I trusted. And I started having these recurring thoughts, like, what if I don't belong here? Which is insane. I know that. I grew up here. These people are my family. I remember our first camping trip, the time Sam broke his front tooth, the night Mara wanted to sneak out, and I covered for her. Real things. Real memories. But still, biology whispers ugly little things in your head when you're raw and spiraling. Things like, maybe your dad wouldn't have chosen you if he knew. Maybe your mom kept you a secret because she was ashamed. Maybe you're 50% stranger and nobody ever gave you a chance to decide what that meant. I finally texted my mom 3 days after the birthday. Just, who was he? She replied 2 hours later, like she needed to build up the courage. His name was Ben. She said he was someone from her old job from way before I was born. They weren't together for more than a few months. It wasn't serious, but it was stupid. And painful. And she regrets it, and she wished she could take it back, but mostly for how much it's hurt me now. And, of course, she had to say this next part. That man never would have been the father your dad was. And I nearly threw my phone. Because that's not the point. I'm not asking for a replacement dad. I'm not trying to trade. I deserve to know. Doesn't everyone? To know where they came from? But yeah, I pulled back after that. I couldn't even text her again. I felt this mix of old child and 2 grown-up emotions. Like I was 10 years old wanting to crawl into my mom's lap, and also 30 and filing a mental lawsuit against her. I started Googling Ben's name. She gave me enough to go on, and it wasn't difficult. A couple filters, an old address, and some search sleuthing, and there he was. Not some mysterious stranger from a movie. Just a man. Balding. Probably early 60s now. Married. 2 kids. He had one of those profiles on a local sports club page, smiling awkwardly in a polo shirt. His face didn't punch me in the stomach. It didn't make me sob or gasp. But it did something. I zoomed in tight on the photo, like an idiot, looking for pieces of myself in this man's smile lines. Did we have the same nose? The same weirdly long fingers? The same earlobes? He didn't look bad. He didn't look like a monster. He just looked like someone who, according to my mother, never even knew I existed. And for a brief second, just a flash, I thought, maybe I could reach out. But then my brain slammed the brakes. What would that even do? What if I ruined another family? What if he didn't believe me? What if he did and his wife hated me and his kids didn't want some bastard half-sibling poking around? So yeah, I dragged the photo into a hidden album on my phone and haven't opened it since. But it's there. And now I walk through my normal days carrying this invisible thing that no one else can see. I go to trivia nights, eat tacos with my friends, listen to podcasts, but it's always there. This knowledge. This ache. This rupture trying to stitch itself up without me knowing how. And every time my dad texts me a dumb gif or says something like, "Is your car making that noise again?" I look at his name in my phone and feel like I'm betraying him just by knowing. About 2 weeks after my birthday, I cracked. Not in some dramatic way. No shouting, no weeping in the rain. Just me, sitting in my car in the pharmacy parking lot, holding a bottle of Advil I didn't actually need, realizing I didn't know who the hell I was anymore. I called Sam. Not sure why. Maybe because he's always been the least judge-why out of all of us. The kind of guy who can hear gossip and somehow neutralize it just by existing. Plus, weirdly enough, he looks the most like Dad. Same jawline, same weird crease in the forehead when he's concentrating, same dad joke impulse. But he's always lacked the high-strung intensity. Like, he inherited Dad light. When he picked up, I didn't even bother with small talk. I just said, "I need to tell you something, and you're not going to believe me." He said, "Are you in jail?" And I laughed longer than I should have. It was the first real laugh I'd had in days, and it almost broke me. I told him everything. In the dumb car, in the too bright parking lot, my voice shaking the whole time. There was this long silence after I finished. Then Sam said quietly, "Holy crap. Yeah." Like, not even a maybe? Not even a could be? I said no. Mom told me flat out. And then gave me Ben's name. Sam went quiet again, and I could hear him processing, turning it over like a puzzle piece that doesn't fit anywhere. Finally, he said, "You're still my sister, you know that, right?" And that nearly undid me. And then, just as casually, "So what are you gonna do?" I told him I didn't know. That I wasn't sure I even could do anything. I hadn't told Dad. Not Mara. And part of me panicked every time I thought about it because whatever version of our family still feels stable kind of hinges on this one giant lie never fully detonating. "I hate that Mom put this on you," he said. "Like, no offense, but you're probably the worst person to carry a secret alone." "Thanks." "Seriously, you're like a human pressure cooker. I'm shocked you haven't texted it into the group chat by accident." I smiled, but man, he wasn't wrong. Since I found out, everything had been building, tiny resentments and paralyzing questions, just simmering under my skin. Like every part of me was one emotional nudge away from exploding and saying something I couldn't unsay. "I kind of want to tell Dad." I admitted. And Sam didn't say don't. He didn't say do, either. He just let the thought hang. Later that night, I was brushing my teeth when Mara barged in needing dry shampoo. She chattered on like usual, some third-hand story about a friend's coworker who ghosted their fiancé or whatever. I nodded, smiled, made the right expressions. And the whole time I just kept thinking, you don't know. You have no idea. And it started to create this weird, subtle wall between me and both of them. Like I couldn't unknow what I knew, and so I wasn't fully part of the same family snapshot anymore. They still belonged to the picture. I was on the edge, aware the photo had been edited. Mom texted me the next morning asking if I was okay. I left her on read. I couldn't deal with her. Not yet. And then came that Sunday dinner. We do one every couple weeks, usually Dad's idea. Steak or spaghetti night, depending on whatever mood he's in. This one was spaghetti. He was blasting music from the kitchen, waving a wooden spoon around like a conductor, looking absolutely oblivious and joyful. I watched him from the hallway for a minute. Just watched him. Trying to see him with new eyes. Trying to find any trace of doubt or fakeness in his face. There wasn't any. He turned to me and said loudly, like a dork, "Can I interest you in the finest carbs in the land, my dear offspring?" That word, offspring, hit different. I nodded and smiled and sat down, but the weight in my chest was unbearable. I could barely eat. Sam kept glancing at me like, "You okay?" But we didn't say anything. I kept thinking, if he ever found out, would he look at me the same? Would he still serve me the biggest scoop of pasta, like it was some unspoken ritual? Would he still act like I'm his kid? I've never been so sure and so unsure of something at the same time. Sure he loves me. No question. But unsure what love does when it crashes into betrayal. After dinner, we were all clearing the table, and Dad bumped his knee on the chair leg. He muttered something low and classic. Well, damn it all to Cheeseland. It's a weird thing he says. Nobody else says it. But I say it now. I always have. It's one of those family idioms that just gets passed down like DNA, except now I guess it's not. And that hit me harder than anything else. I felt it swell in my throat. So I left. I told them I had to meet a friend, but really, I just drove around. Windows down. Music off. Silence. Trying not to cry. Trying not to disappear into an identity crisis. Later that night, I messaged my mom. "Did you ever think he'd find out?" She replied instantly, too fast almost. "No." That's why I never said anything. I didn't want to lose everything. And there it was. The selfishness that's been haunting me. The choice she made, not just once, but for me. She decided my truth wasn't worth the risk. I can't stop thinking about that. What's worse, hurting someone with the truth? Or lying so deeply they build a whole life out of fiction? I honestly don't know. I really don't know. And I'm terrified I'll have to decide. I told him last night. I don't know what finally did it. Maybe it was the quiet drive home from work, or the way the sky looked like it was holding its breath before a storm. Maybe I just got tired of living with the weight of something I didn't ask for, like I was the drywall between everyone else's stability and the truth trying to punch its way through. Whatever it was, I called and asked if we could talk. Not at the house. I picked a diner halfway between ours and his office, because I knew it would be busy enough that none of us could yell, but quiet enough I wouldn't have to shout something like, "I'm not your biological kid," over clinking cutlery. He said yes without hesitation, even joked, "It's not bad news, is it?" before hanging up. God. I was shaking before he even walked in. I ran through the words over and over like flashcards, but nothing felt real enough to say aloud. No version of, "Hey Dad, turns out I have a different dad," sounded like anything that could come from my mouth without it wrecking both of us. And then he showed up. Same stupid jacket he's had since forever. Little smear of grease on his knuckle from work. He smiled like always, sat across from me, and ordered a milkshake like we were in some 1950s movie. I didn't touch my coffee. I tried to warm up, asked about his day. He mentioned something about Mara's car needing brake pads and how Sam finally fixed the door latch that had been sticking. Normal stuff. Stuff I shouldn't be mourning in real time. And then I just said it. "Mom told me something on my birthday." He lowered his straw. I kept going. Not fast. Not slow. Just one word at a time, like walking across a frozen lake. "She told me I'm not biologically yours." He blinked, like he genuinely didn't understand. So I said it again, cleaner, more brutal. "You're not my biological father." And something behind his eyes broke a little when it landed. His face didn't change rapidly, he's not that kind of guy, but something in him dropped. Like weight fell onto his shoulders all at once. He didn't say anything. Just sat back in the booth and looked past me, like trying to find where the floor went. I felt like vomiting. "I didn't know," I added. "Not until now." And then, quietly, like a sin I didn't want to give air. "She had an affair. Before I was born. He never even knew about me." He didn't speak for a long time. Just kept nodding slowly, like he needed to nod, or maybe he'd cry. Then his voice, quiet and deliberate. "I raised you." It almost didn't sound like a sentence. More like a defense. "I know," I said. "You're my dad. That doesn't change. I needed to tell you, because it's been eating me alive. And I didn't think it was fair that you're the only one in the dark." He turned his face toward mine finally. And his eyes, God, his eyes. I've never seen someone look so betrayed and still want to protect you in the same second. "Did she ever plan to tell me?" he asked. I said I didn't know. Because I really didn't. Maybe she never planned to. Maybe burying it was easier. He let out a breath like it was glass shattering. Then he said, so soft I barely heard it, "She let me look you in the eye every single day and lie to myself." And I snapped then, like, emotionally. Tears just started happening whether I wanted them to or not. "But you didn't know," I sobbed. "You didn't lie. You just loved me. And I never questioned that. Not once." He wiped his face quickly, like he didn't want me to see it. And then he reached across the booth, took my hand, held it like he used to when I was a kid who scraped their knee. His grip was firm, familiar, real. "I don't give a damn what your blood says," he whispered. "You're my kid. You hear me?" And that broke me completely. Even now, writing this, I'm crying again. We sat there for another half hour. He didn't ask a ton of questions, not yet. I think he was too stunned for details. He said he'd talk to Mom eventually, but that he needed a couple days first. I don't blame him. I don't even know where to begin when it comes to their history. I just know I detonated the silence. And now we're in the smoke. He texted me this morning. Just a selfie of him holding a mug that said "World's Okayest Dad" and a thumbs up. Same smile. Same eyes. Funny how something can be true and comforting and completely disorienting all at once. It's not over. There's still guilt. Still pain. Still so many conversations ahead I don't feel ready for. But at least now it's not festering in me alone. At least now, it's ours to carry. And weirdly, somehow, that makes me feel like his kid all over again.